Hello, my friends. I want to tell you something today, something that I think about often. There is a small island in the south of India. The island is called Rameswaram. It sits between India and Sri Lanka. The sea surrounds it on all sides. The air smells of salt and fish. The streets are narrow and old. Most people there are very poor. They pray. They survive. On this small island, many years ago, a boy woke up before the sun. Every morning before school, he ran through the dark streets. He collected newspapers from the distribution point. He ran from house to house delivering them. He did this so his family could eat. He was 8 years old. That boy grew up to build the weapons that made India a nuclear power. He became one of the greatest scientists in the history of Asia. He became the president of India. And when he died, the whole country wept. Not because he was powerful, because he was kind. His name was APJ Abdul Kalam. And his story will stay with you for a long time. If you enjoy learning English through stories like this, please subscribe to Timeless English. Every week we bring you a new story from history in slow, clear, simple English just for you. APJ Abdul Kalam was born on October 15, 1931. He was born in Rameswaram in the state of Tamil Nadu in India. His family was Muslim in a town that was mostly Hindu. His father, Jainuddin, was not a rich man. He had no formal education. He had no great wealth. But he had a boat. He used the boat to take Hindu pilgrims across the water to a small island for their prayers. He was an honest man, a man who believed that all religions were roads to the same God. He taught his son this belief, and his son never forgot it. Abdul Kalam's mother Ashama was a generous woman. She fed people who came to their door. Sometimes she fed so many people that there was very little left for her own family. But she never turned anyone away. Young Abdul Kalam watched his parents every day. He watched his father cross the water in his small boat. He watched his mother feed strangers at the door. He learned something from both of them. He learned that a good life is not about what you take. It is about what you give. The family was not always poor. They had once owned a bigger boat. They had once had more. But a cyclone came. A powerful storm from the sea. It destroyed the boat. It took everything. And after that, the family struggled. Young Abdul Kalam started delivering newspapers so the family could survive. He woke before dawn every single day. He ran through empty streets in the dark. He worked before school. He studied after school. He never complained. His teachers noticed him. One teacher in particular noticed him very much. His name was Sivasubramania Iyer. He was a Hindu Brahmin teacher in a school that had both Hindu and Muslim students. One day, Sivasubramania Iyer invited Abdul Kalam to his home for a meal. This was unusual. In those days in India, some people did not eat together across religious lines. But Sivasubramania Iyer did not care about that. He served Abdul Kalam food himself. His wife was uncomfortable. But Sivasubramania Iyer said nothing. He simply believed that a good student deserved kindness. That moment stayed with Abdul Kalam for the rest of his life. He said later that his teacher showed him that education destroys the walls that divide people. Abdul Kalam was a serious student. He loved mathematics. He loved physics. He wanted to understand how things worked, why the sky was blue, how birds stayed in the air, what electricity really was. He asked questions constantly. His teachers encouraged him. They said this boy is different. He has something. After finishing school, Abdul Kalam went to study at St. Joseph's College in Tiruchirappalli. He studied physics. He worked hard. He graduated. And then he had a dream. A big dream. He wanted to be a fighter pilot. He wanted to fly. He had loved watching birds since he was small. He had loved the idea of moving through the air, and now he wanted to do it himself. He applied to the Indian Air Force. He went through all the tests. He passed the written examinations. And then came the final interview. There were 25 candidates. Only 8 positions were available. Abdul Kalam finished 9th. 1 position away from his dream. 1 single position. He did not get in. He was rejected. His dream of flying was over. He sat by the Ganges River after he heard the news. He sat there for a long time. A Hindu spiritual teacher came and sat beside him. The teacher looked at this young Muslim man, sitting alone with his disappointment. And the teacher said something simple. He said, "Accept what has happened. Your destiny is not in the sky. It is somewhere else." Abdul Kalam did not know it then. But the teacher was right. Abdul Kalam went to study aeronautical engineering in Madras. Aeronautical engineering is the science of aircraft and flying machines. Even though he could not fly, he could still build the machines that flew. He graduated and joined the Defense Research and Development Organization, the DRDO. He was given a very small project. A machine that floated above the ground. It was not exciting work. It was not what he had dreamed of. But Abdul Kalam did the work. He did it carefully. He did it well. And then his life changed completely. In 1962, he was transferred to the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO. India was trying to build its own space program. At that time, India was a young country. It had only been independent from Britain for 15 years. It was poor. It was still finding its feet. And it wanted to reach space. Abdul Kalam was part of the team that would try to make that happen. The early years were not easy. India had very little money for its space program. They had very little equipment. They had very little technology. When India launched its first rocket parts, they were so poor that the rocket pieces were carried on a bicycle. The nose cone of the rocket was carried on a bicycle to the launch pad. The scientists worked from a small church and a house that had been converted into offices. There were no sophisticated facilities. There was no massive building. There were just people. Brilliant, dedicated, passionate people. And Abdul Kalam was one of them. He worked with extraordinary commitment. He slept very little. He ate simply. He had no interest in luxury. He wore the same simple clothes every day. He had almost no possessions. He owned almost nothing. But he was building something that would last forever. In 1963, India launched its first rocket. It was a small rocket, a simple rocket, but it was India's rocket, and Abdul Kalam had helped build it. Over the following years, India's space program grew, and Abdul Kalam grew with it. He became one of the most important scientists in the program. He was known for his energy, his enthusiasm, his ability to inspire the people around him. Young scientists wanted to work with him. They said he made them feel that anything was possible. He had that quality. The quality of making people believe in themselves. But the biggest moment of Abdul Kalam's scientific life was still to come. In 1974, India did something that shocked the world. India tested a nuclear bomb, underground, in the desert of Rajasthan. The test was called Smiling Buddha. It made India the 6th country in the world to have nuclear weapons. The world was surprised. The world was concerned. Many countries put sanctions on India. They stopped sharing technology. They stopped cooperating. They wanted to punish India for becoming nuclear. India felt isolated, and India decided to respond. Abdul Kalam was given a new mission, the most important mission of his life. India wanted to build its own missiles, not to buy them from other countries, not to depend on anyone else, to build them itself. French, with Indian minds, Indian hand, Indian resources. The program was called the Integrated Guided Missile Development Program. It was one of the most ambitious projects in the history of Indian science, and Abdul Kalam was put in charge. He was not a military man. He was a scientist, a gentle, soft-spoken man who loved poetry and music, who read the Bhagavad Gita and the Quran, who played the veena, a traditional Indian musical instrument. This was the man India chose to build its missiles. And he did not disappoint. The team worked for years. They faced enormous challenges. Other countries refused to sell India the technology it needed. They had to develop everything themselves. There were failures. There were setbacks. There were rockets that did not work, launches that failed, moments of deep discouragement. But Abdul Kalam did not give up. He had a way of dealing with failure that was unusual. When something went wrong, he gathered his team. He said, "Let us understand what happened. Let us learn from this. And then let us try again." He never blamed his team. He always protected them. When things went well, he gave the credit to others. When things went wrong, he took the responsibility himself. This is extremely rare in any organization, in any country, in any field. And his team loved him for it. The missiles were built. One by one they succeeded. Prithvi, Agni, Akash, Trishul, Nag, each one a success. Each one building India's strength. Each one proving that India could stand on its own feet in science and technology. Abdul Kalam became famous. He became a national hero. People called him the Missile Man of India. He appeared on the covers of magazines. He was given India's highest civilian honor, the Bharat Ratna, the Jewel of India. And then in 1998, India did something even bigger. India tested 5 nuclear bombs in 3 days. Underground in the Rajasthan desert again. The tests were called Operation Shakti. Shakti means power. Abdul Kalam was one of the chief scientists behind these tests. Again the world reacted. Again there were sanctions. Again there was international pressure. But India stood firm. And Abdul Kalam stood with India. He said India was not building these weapons to attack anyone. India was building them so that no one would attack India. Peace through strength, he believed. A nation that can defend itself does not need to fear anyone. After the nuclear tests, Abdul Kalam became the most famous scientist in India. But fame did not change him. He still wore simple clothes. He still slept very little. He still ate simply. He still had almost no personal possessions. He still took time to meet young students. He still answered letters from children. He was known for his extraordinary connection with young people. He believed that the future of India lived in its young people. He believed that if you inspire the young, you change the country. He visited schools constantly. He talked to students in small villages. He talked to students in big cities. He asked them about their dreams. He told them to dream big. He said dream is not what you see in sleep. Dream is something that does not let you sleep. In 2002, something unexpected happened. Abdul Kalam was asked to become the President of India. He did not want the position. He said he was a scientist, not a politician. He said he did not know about politics. But the leaders of India insisted. They said the country needed a president who inspired people. A president who was not from politics. A president who the whole country could love. Abdul Kalam accepted. He became the 11th President of India. And he became the most unusual president India had ever seen. He turned the presidential palace into a place where children came. He invited school students to visit him. He played with them. He talked with them. He asked them about their dreams. The most powerful man in India spent his time talking to children because he believed they were the most important people in the country. He served as president from 2000 to 2007. And when his term ended, he went back to what he loved: teaching. He became a professor. He taught at universities across India. He wrote books. He gave lectures. He continued visiting schools. He continued inspiring young people. He had been the President of India. And now he was a teacher again. And he was happy. Because he had always said that teaching was the most important work in the world. On July 27, 2015, Abdul Kalam was at the Indian Institute of Management in Shillong. He was giving a lecture to students. He was talking about a subject he loved: making the earth a better place to live. And in the middle of the lecture he collapsed. He was taken to hospital. But it was too late. Abdul Kalam died that evening. He was 83 years old. He died the way he had lived, in front of students, doing the work he loved, teaching. When the news spread across India, the country stopped. People sat in silence. People wept in the streets. Social media filled with messages of grief and love, not just in India, in Bangladesh, across the world. People who had grown up reading his books. People whose teachers had told them about him. People who had met him once and never forgot it. They all felt the same thing. They felt they had lost someone who believed in them. Someone who had looked at them and seen not who they were but who they could become. What did APJ Abdul Kalam leave behind? He left behind the missiles that defend India. He left behind the space technology that puts Indian satellites in orbit. He left behind millions of young people who heard him speak and decided to dream bigger. He left behind books that are still read by students across Asia. He left behind a way of living. Simple, honest, generous, devoted to something larger than yourself. He was a Muslim man who quoted Hindu scripture, a scientist who loved poetry, a president who preferred children to politicians, a man of war who spoke only of peace. He contained contradictions. And those contradictions were what made him beautiful. He once said something that I want to share with you. He said you have to dream before your dreams can come true. Think about that. Before anything becomes real, it must first be a dream. The boy delivering newspapers in the dark streets of Rameswaram was dreaming. Dreaming of flying. Dreaming of building. Dreaming of a better India. He did not get everything he dreamed. He did not become a pilot. But he built rockets that flew higher than any pilot. He built weapons that made India safe. He became the president of the country he loved, not by getting what he wanted, but by giving what he had. Today, when we learn English, we are dreaming too. We are dreaming of a world where we can speak to more people, where we can read more books, where we can understand more stories, where new doors are open to us. Abdul Kalam learned. He studied. He worked. He failed. He tried again. He never stopped. And the world is different because of him. Your English journey is the same. Every word you learn, every story you understand, every sentence that becomes clear to you, you are building something. Something that will open doors you cannot yet imagine. Keep learning, my friends. Your dream is waiting. Thank you for listening to this story today. I hope it stayed with you. I hope it gave you something to think about. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a like. And if you want more stories like this every week, please subscribe to Timeless English. Until next time, my friends, keep learning, keep listening, and keep enjoying the beautiful journey of English.